Hi, I'm going to do a demonstration for you here real quick. This is at Three Peaks. It's a regional park, and I'm showing you my little sketch that I made from my photograph showing I choose the golden section, and so I'm just finding where everything I want it to be in my final painting. I love doing these thumbnails. They really help me analyze. And you can see I've got a little arrow coming up, pointing into the tree. So that's what I was feeling, was that this split in the rocks was bringing my eye up into the tree. And that's what I want you to do. I want you to feel that elevation, that going up and into the tree. And I was building the whole composition on this golden mean, and that is how I decided to set it up. Then I'm going to transfer that onto my paper. So here I have done my pencil sketch on the paper. You can see I've still got my line going up with the arrow pointing into the tree and set up with the golden section. So I minimized how many lines I put in from the photograph so that, I just want this to be a simple watercolor. And then I erase the lines just a little bit, make them a little lighter so that so they don't show up in the final piece, hopefully. And the first thing I'm going to do is just get everything wet in the sky area. And of course, I've sped this up so that you can not be quite so bored with the whole process. And I'm using a cobalt blue. My paints are Graham watercolors. And the fun little tip with Graham watercolors is that they're really not very good for outdoor painting. And not because they aren't good colors. They are fantastic colors. But they have honey in them as part of their binder. And before I started using Graham, I was out with some watercolor painters, and one of them had some Graham, and she had all kinds of wasps hanging out with her. She finally had to give up, close her kit, and put everything in the car because the wasps were going after the honey. So there's a fun little anecdote for you. So now I'm going to let that color dry. And now down in the whole rock area, get the paper wet. And I'm just going to be using some more Graham colors. Now this one is the cobalt blue with burnt sienna. And I might have a little touch of black in there too. But cobalt and burnt sienna make a really lovely gray. I am using the photo. I have the photo up on my computer screen to use as reference. And I'm just looking for the shadows so that I'm putting in basically the shadows. There I'm putting in a little bit of yellow ochre to warm up the lit areas. Getting back into the dark gray, now that things are soaking in, I can start playing with the shadow areas a little more. Get them a little more defined. Use a little more pigment in the water. But I'm still going light. And it's still wet, so it's still creating that softness. I still want my arrow, but I don't want it to be too obvious. I can get a lot more bold with the dark. I still want it to stay soft. Just getting more contrast. So now that that's dried, I've made a mask for the sky because I want to do the old toothbrush trick. Made a lot of white paint, a nice dark mix of paint, and just spreading this spatter around because those rocks were very spattered. They have a lot of granular texture to them. I'm definitely not worrying about being too precise. It's not important. The important thing was to make the mask to cover the sky. I would not want those speckles in there. Now I've made a burnt sienna and Hooker's green mix. Get a little bit of that feeling of those small plants that are growing between the rocks. And just add another little element of dark. A lot of plants were growing in the cracks in these rocks. And now that I've revealed the sky, taken the mask off, I am going to do the tree. Again, mainly a mixture of cobalt blue and burnt sienna, with a little bit of black added. The structure of the tree being very important. And I'm not trying to copy the photo exactly. I want to pick up the general shape, get a little bit of a feeling of the texture of the leaves. And while that's drying just a little bit, I'm looking around to see if I want to touch any little spots with some dark, a little extra dark. Just make everything pop. I still want that arrow up there at the top. I don't want your eye to go downward. I want your eye to go up to the tree. And one of the things I'm doing here is using a thirsty brush to pick up some of the paint and get a little more lightness into the leaves area. So a little more sunlight on there. Soften the edges a little bit. So there you have it. There's the photo and there's my interpretation. It's quite different, but yeah, I'm pleased with it. I think it came out all right. So I hope this has been interesting, and maybe you've gotten a few ideas and tips out of it. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.